Hello and welcome to Quarries Nature 2021, a 50-year success story. We're here at the Somerset Earth Science Centre in the Mendip Hills, and this lovely lake is right beside a working quarry. Every year, hundreds of children come here to learn about the quarrying industry and to enjoy the wildlife and biodiversity. And with the rain falling today, it's the perfect opportunity to do a bit of pond dipping. The Education Centre here was designed by the local Mendip quarry producers to help the industry connect with the next generation. And we're here to showcase and celebrate half a century of the UK quarrying and minerals industry, caring for the environment, nature and our landscape. It's one of the industry's best kept secrets, but it's time to put all that hard work and commitment into the spotlight. All these beautiful landscapes were once quarries. When rock and mineral products have been extracted, quarrying companies restore the land. The products like sand, gravel, clay, granite, sandstone, limestone and many others are all used in building our homes, our offices, transport, energy infrastructure and our schools and hospitals. Now, a restored quarry might look exactly the same as it did before the quarrying started, but often it's an opportunity to enhance the landscape and its ecology for the better. Wetlands and reed beds, woodland and hedgerows, heathland and grassland, and high-quality land for farming and production. You might have heard a lot of talk in the past 5 years about net gain and natural capital. In the future, industries that use or develop land will have to calculate biodiversity losses and the environmental costs of what it does, and then deliver improvements in biodiversity through restoration. Well, time now to look in more detail at this 50-year story of restoration and conservation work. I've been finding out more from Nigel Jackson, the Chief Executive of the Mineral Products Association. We met up at Brett's award-winning restoration site at Church Lammas in Staines.
This morning we're on a site that's very important to me, but also very important to the industry. We're in Surrey, we're near Staines, and we're very much in the urban fringe. You may even be able to hear the background noise from the M25 and occasionally from Heathrow, which is just about a mile or so up the road. Now, this site now is really a wildlife haven. It's an oasis, which in the urban fringe is probably more important than restored quarries in rural settings, because local people need places for their mental well-being, for their physical well-being, and this site, which was designed with use by the community and wildlife in mind, fulfills all of those aims. It's a very popular site, although it was a very unpopular proposal at the time. In fact, it was fiercely contested. But the scheme actually is a landmark scheme insofar as on highly designated land, where the county council and the locals had some concerns about what the restoration would be like, we were able to demonstrate that we could actually deliver, and deliver in spades. This site was worked some 20 years ago for sand and gravel, which supplied important construction projects in the London and the Surrey area as part of the essential supply that the industry provides. Without the sand and gravel, there would be no concrete, and without the concrete, we wouldn't have most of the built environment, whether it's roads, schools, hospitals, or homes. So it's fulfilled a vital role in keeping the economy going, and now it's fulfilling a vital role in contributing to nature. I visited this site quite a bit this week in preparation for this event, and I'm absolutely blown away by what I've seen. It's turned out so much better than we ever imagined, And I know if I was a local, I'd probably be out here every day. It's fantastic.
Well, Nigel, it's great to meet you on a sunny morning at a quarry restoration that you were personally involved in. You must feel so proud when you look out over this lovely lake.
Well, firstly, it's great to see you and have you here at Church Lammas in Staines. And yeah, pride would be an understatement. You know, it's just, I mean, you know, I love this industry. And one of the reasons is because it does this. It's probably just one of those best kept secrets of the industry. Most people don't appreciate what a force for good we are, just with the economic, you know, providing the materials for the economy, I think is fantastic enough. And then you have this.
Talk about this 50-year story, because I imagine in those 50 years, a lot has changed.
Well, I think 50 years ago, to be honest, when quarrymen were extracting, they probably didn't have restoration at the front of their mind. But as it happened, when the quarry was exhausted, it didn't mean that nature couldn't play its part. It's a powerful force, as we all know. And I think the big difference is now we almost start with how do we want the site to finish. So it's much more of an engineered, considered, designed process, as opposed to almost accidental nature. It's now wired in. So I think that's the big difference.
I suppose 50 years ago, it was just a hole in the ground that would be left. And now the planning for that hole in the ground begins way before you even start extracting anything.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I was looking for sites, when I was sort of operational in the industry, when you were looking to find sites, obviously you've got to have mineral and it's got to be in the right location. It's got to have a chance of getting planning permission. But we're already thinking, even before we've acquired the land, how would this end? What could we do here? Because it's an important part of the planning decision-making process to weigh up, you know, the economic needs with the environmental needs.
Well, you mentioned the economic needs. I think it's important in a way to talk now about exactly why we need minerals. We all need them. We wouldn't have hospitals, roads, schools. And I think sometimes people forget that, don't they?
I don't think they don't forget it, they just don't know it. I mean, I spend way too much of my time and my colleagues and the industry at large trying to get people to make the link between why we need mineral and the way we live. It's not accidental that we need about 1 million tonnes a day of aggregates, cement, concrete, industrial minerals and lime, agricultural lime. It's because civilized economies need those materials as much as we need food, water and energy.
And it's interesting that you're talking like that, in that we're right next to a restored quarry and we can hear the traffic racing along a road that would have been built, the M25,
Absolutely.
with lots of aggregate and minerals.
Well, an aggregate actually, some of which was extracted from adjacent to the line of the road. And Heathrow, of course, is continuously requiring materials for redevelopment, concrete for foundations, concrete for the structures, asphalt for the runways. A little known thing is, and I've seen it in action, when they're repairing some of the runways there, a plane will be taking off in New York whilst they're taking the asphalt off the runway, and by the time it lands, the asphalt is ready for the plane to land.
Well, let's talk about the scale of restoration that's happening now, because this is a 50-year story. You've talked about your personal involvement here at this lovely lake and this former sand and gravel quarry. What's the scale of restoration that's happening now right across the country?
Priority habitats already delivered, an area the size of a significant city such as Nottingham, land already in the system, planned and will be delivered, an area the size of Liverpool. It's pretty significant, but there's much more besides. That's just priority habitats. I don't think we have the data readily to hand of how much land has been restored over 50 years, but it's pretty significant.
And the MPA also has its virtual National Nature Park.
Yeah.
What's the idea behind that, and what is it?
Well, the idea was, it occurred to us that because the assets that the industry has created are dispersed, they're not really got shape, form, scale, and are not visible. So we thought, well, why don't we imagine them put together? What would that add up to? And it adds up to, a small national nature park, effectively. There are 80 sites that we've already got. That will grow over time. On those sites, there's not just restoration like this, but there are education centres, there are visitor centres, there are nature trails. For me, it's like the shop window of the industry and its commitment to nature.
Nigel, it's such a lovely sunny day. Let's take a walk along the water's edge here and have a look across on this bank. Look at all these beautiful willow trees and the reeds and rushes along the bank there.
Yeah, that bank edge has come out better than we could ever have thought of designing. It's really got a life of its own now. What
really underpins the work that you do when you do restoration? What underpins all that work?
Well, other than the obvious that if you want to get permission, you've got to demonstrate that your environmental credentials and all that. I think that the step change for me was the industry developing a biodiversity strategy in 2009. At the time, we were the only industry in the country to make that leap. I think we still are. We were able to review and update that after 10 years in 2019. And I still think we're light years ahead of any other sector. I hear a lot of good words and ambitious stuff being said by other parts of business, but we're doing it, and we've been doing it for 50 years, and there's a lot more to come.
And you have your industry Oscars, the biodiversity Oscars, don't you, that recognise the good work that people are doing in the industry in restoring quarries like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Every 2 years we like to showcase what members have been doing. We think that firstly we should celebrate the effort they've put in. Hopefully it will inspire others. We can share their experiences, which people can build into future schemes. And I think what it does, it just concentrates. It brings together that dispersed activity that's going on that I referred to earlier into one place every 2 years, and we can share it with key stakeholders. And for me, it's a really proud day because we've got all of the main environmental organisations with us. We know them, we want to know them, we want to work with them. We've got memorandum of understanding with a number of key partners, whether it's bumblebees, freshwater habitats, and many others, RSPB, the Wildlife Trust. They're all very, very key to us, and collectively we drive the science and the practitioning forward.
Do you think people really appreciate what you do?
Not enough.
Do you think people even know that the quarry industry is involved in this grand scale restoration?
I think on a local level, where it's impacting on communities, there will be an understanding. There may be skepticism, there may be resistance, but I think over time when sites mature, there may be that mood changes. But in terms of a general appreciation and understanding of what the industry is there for, what it does, let alone what it achieves in terms of contribution to nature, not enough people know it. It's certainly not appreciated. And my biggest frustration is cutting through with DEFRA. My personal view is that they should be all over us like a rash, because what we're doing is what they're using the words, but we're actually doing it.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I work in farming, and there's a lot of talk in farming about how subsidy is going to be linked, public money for public goods. In a way, you've been pretty much doing that for 50 years, haven't you? You've been putting your own industry's money into something like this that's open to the public.
Well, it's perverse for me. I mean, public money for public goods. This is private money for public goods. We pay our environmental taxes and a lot, probably the thick end of £1 billion a year, and we do this. We're not being incentivized to do this because it's the right thing. We're doing it because it is the right thing to do. So I do get a bit irritated. I don't think there's a level playing field or an appreciation in government of environmental impacts across the whole of business and industry. I think we pay our dues. My members, I think, are very mature about it. They appreciate that they have an environmental impact and that they have to earn their license to operate. But I don't think that's applied evenly or equally across industry.
Now, I've obviously talked to a lot of people in this industry. I think the thing that impresses me most of all is the passion of the people who work in this industry, the quarry managers, the quarry workers. If you go to a restored quarry, people are really passionate about putting it back to nature, giving back to wildlife. That must make you very proud. Not only the work, but proud of the workforce as well.
Absolutely. I mean, this is an industry I find it impossible not to love. The people, what we do, why we do it, how we do it is just so important. Quarry managers are stewards, they're guardians. They very often they'll be there not for years, but possibly decades, and it becomes part of their lives. It's all, for some, I know everybody wants to be paid a fair wage.
We're here at the Somerset Earth Science Centre in the Mendip Hills, based here at Wainwright's wonderfully named Moons Hill Quarry. Let's take a look around.